it was just a community. Like, I think the people that went there knew what to expect. It was the bartenders there were all just, they loved being there for drag. Like you go to some of these other gay bars and there are these bartenders and what do they call it? Bouncers and like the staff that just don't enjoy being there. Like they're not queer, or they don't get drag, or they don't like drag and they're queer, whatever it is. And XY and Liberty One were places that were filled with staff that loved being in that community.
Hello, I am Kay Anderson, and you are listening to Lost Spaces, a podcast that mourns the death of queer nightlife. Every episode, I talk to a different person about a venue from their past, the memories they created there, and the people that they used to know. XY had a fairly short run, opening in 2015 and closing in 2018. But in that time, it firmly established itself as the go-to club for drag and performance within Vancouver, hosting events most nights of the week. I caught up with the Jewish non-binary drag artist Rogue to find out about their first time there, being inspired by Drag Race girls, and I also got a little advice about the art of sucking up.
The first 2 years of my drag was very bland, very blonde wig, pale, beige nudes clothing. And then I lost the competition and kind of went, fuck it, and went into this like club kid phase. And that's kind of where I am now. And so, but I knew that I always wanted to do something androgynous. So when I was picking a name, even though I was doing the same pretty girl thing all the time, I knew that I didn't want something like Jennifer, you know what I mean? or Ashley, or like I wanted something like almost alien-esque
Like
in a
mysterious,
way.
yeah.
Yeah. And so I chose Rogue. I also liked it because it was a word, like going rogue. I thought that was a fun little thing I could do. I've never done anything like it, but or with that. But like, if I wanted to make merch that was like, let's go rogue, whatever it was, then I could. And yeah, so then when I had all these names, I think I just vibed with Rogue the most. But I actually forgot that it was. I'm not a huge comic book person, or I like to just say nerd. I'm not a big nerd. In the classic way of the word. I'm a huge nerd for makeup and drag, but not in the classics.
So that's not the filter that you pick on Grindr then.
Oh no. I'm yeah. Used to be twink. Now I would say boy next door.
What does that even mean? Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I think it means like, my body's not perfect, but I'm pretty. That's what I define it as.
I don't really know how to respond to that. So instead, I will change the subject. So you said before that you lost the competition when you were being the pretty girl. Do you just mean that like as in general, as in that you couldn't kind of keep up with that kind of perfect aesthetic?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm very good at being feminine. If we're just like point blank, that's what it is. I'm like not a feminine. I mean, I think I have feminine energy, but I don't think that like in the classic, like you have to sit like this to be a lady, do this to be a lady, like blah 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 blah. Like that's not me. And I honestly like I've studied gender for like years. Like I was that like faggot that wasn't out in high school that would like read about gender and women's studies and be like the straight male feminist. And then later on was the gay one. And so it was just kind of one of those things where like, I didn't think that women should be held to that kind of standard, which they shouldn't be. So I just put that into my drag that like, why? Like, I just thought I never understood why it was such a pressure to be like the exact same pretty drag queen as everyone else. I never understood that, but that's what you needed to do to like become famous. Like, what, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. But
so
that is the aesthetic you chose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was just because I think it was like my introduction to drag. When I first started doing drag, before that, I hated flamboyant men. And I hated femme men. I was like really struggling with my internalized homophobia. And so I think I started with season 6 and I wanted to be friends with Adore because she was a stoner. And I was kind of like, why am I feeling this way? Do I want to sleep with her? Like, do I want to like be friends with her? I was like, what's happening? And I was like, I just want to be friends with her. Like, this is so weird though, because I've never felt this connection to such a flamboyant femme man. At the time, man, I guess. And like, then I watched season 7 and Pearl was my
you have a type
was my shit. Yeah, it was like the low voice, like the flase da, like the long blonde hair, stoner, bedroom eyes. Like I was like, holy shit. And even when I do blonde like femme looks now, I still take inspiration from her back then. Not necessarily Pearl now, because she's more like natural, I guess now. But that like whole beginning of Pearl where she was like dramatic eye and big, huge blonde hair, huge tits, like beige colors, like old woman mixed with like new age Tumblr girl. Like I just loved that vibe. And I really related to it. And I still do. I still think that's part of Rogue. I just don't think it's all of Rogue. So I think like I pulled some good looks, did some good numbers. But I think it just wasn't what I really excel at. What I excel at is like creativity and pulling like different club kid things and working with color and body paint and different colored wigs and styles. That's instead of just like pin straight blonde hair. And like, I think, like getting that push from that competition to, and I didn't do badly. Like I literally made it to the finale and got 5th, I think. But out of like a gaggle of girls. But
so it was an actual competition.
Yes.
And this was just like the catalyst. You were just like,
yes,
I didn't win. Fully. Fuck you all.
Oh, I was so mad. I was so in my head and thought I was gonna win, and then the winner was a local queen here who and actually was friends with one of the head judges. And the year before, the winner was a friend of the head judge, and the year before, the same thing. So I was on that.
You still wouldn't have won because you came 5th.
Yeah. Okay. yeah. Thanks a lot. 2 years ago, but it's still sensitive about it.
Yeah. Okay. But let's not be mad at this person who just had the good fortune of being friends with the judge. Because if they.
Yeah. Okay. Also, if they ever, I doubt that she does. She won't listen to this. But it just to clear out the name, whatever. But it's like she did work really fucking hard. And that's the thing too, that like if I was more, and she's also like she'd been doing drag for like 4 more years than I had and like grew up in Toronto and whatever. So it's like this is someone who like really knows who their drag character is, like all the facets of. And I think I was still figuring it out. I think 2 years in I was like this 21, 22, 21, whatever, early 20s year old, like still trying to like figure out, like being so confident that I know what I'm doing, but it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And like, I had this whole other side of me that I didn't even think was possible with drag. And then fast forward 2 years later, like here I am, like, it's this whole other envelope.
So like it was a good thing.
Mm-hmm. So I had a gig the night after the finale. And I had ran out of foundation like my base. No, my highlight. What was it? I found out one of my foundations, either my highlight or my base, and
Wait, how many foundations are there?
I have three. I use three. I use a base and then I use a contour and then I use a highlight.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's makeup is different, but I like the really dramatic face shape changers. I don't know.
Okay, so you ran out of something.
So I ran out, and I also didn't want to. I was like, fuck it. I'm not. I was like, okay, well, I'll just do like this natural kind of Club Kitty look. I'm not going to put on a wig. I'm not going to shave. And then I did a Panic at the Disco song, and it was literally my most liked picture on Instagram and my most tipped ever number. And I felt so fucking hot. I was like, wow. And then I went home and I was like, is this what I'm doing from now on? Like, I don't like, what? Yeah.
And so that the character, for want of a better term, has evolved since then. Do you ever feel kind of locked into that and unable to experiment outside of the boundaries that you've set yourself?
Not now. Actually, okay, I think in real life and my drag, no. I do feel that way with what I'm going to post on Instagram. I do feel like my audience really likes the makeup selfies, and anything else that I do just gets like no engagement at all, which isn't my biggest concern right now. It really goes in waves. And yeah, but in terms of my drag, no, I really don't. Because I do think that like who I am and who I've created the past 2 years is just like, when you book me, you don't know what you're going to get. And I say that in my booking bio thing when people are like, do you have a little excerpt for us to post in the on the website or whatever? And it's like there's this line that's like, from Carly Rae Jepsen to Eminem, when Rogue gets on the stage, you have no idea what you're going to get. Because like I could literally do like an Avril Lavigne song from like the early 2000s, or I could do the new Sam Smith song like remixed by Felix Cartel. Like it literally is like I could do whatever. I can look like whatever. And that's kind of the drag that I feel good in.
But so not to like labor on this for too long, but are you saying then that you're curating the person that's presented on Instagram, but you've got like a no fucks given attitude in real life?
Yes. I also, at the end of the day, kind of have a no fucks given attitude about Instagram. But it is important to me that I share my art to like as many people as possible. And the way that happens now on Instagram, you like have to have high engagement, which means like which means like trying to figure out what your followers want and like and whatever.
Yeah.
And so
beating the algorithm.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like a head fuck. I mean, I'm really sorry if I come across like I'm being judgmental or anything. It's just really fascinating the way that it impacts the way you engage with the world, I suppose, because you think in a very different way in order to like, oh, what is everyone else gonna like, but you also then have to try and, oh god, I sound like such a wanker, I'm sorry, but then you also have to try and convey the message that you want to convey whilst also not upsetting the algorithm.
Yeah, 100%. Like that is like yes. So it's like at the same time I like don't give a shit and like will just post whatever I want. But then on the flip side would be like, okay, well, do I want this? Like should I post it? I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, no, they're like I am like I'm so totally not good at any of that, but I'm like fascinated by that whole culture of the curation and the emphasis that's placed on it within social media, and that can become a means unto itself.
Hmm.
Anyway, sorry. So, like,
No, it's all good.
it's totally boring when people talk about like, oh, social media is killing all of our values. Um, which is not what I'm trying.
Well,
It's not what I'm trying to do at all.
I mean, it is all.
Well, yeah, yeah. But anyway, let's talk about getting messy in a nightclub and a
Oh, the
specific
messiest.
nightclub. See, I'm bringing it to why we're here today. Is XY nightclub.
Yes.
So,
Which I just found out recently from my cousin last night when we were at Rosh Hashanah dinner because I'm Jewish. And it's a holiday right now. Woo. But he was talking about autism, and we were talking about chromosomes. And I must have learned this in high school, but I recently found out again that the XY chromosome is for men.
great.
Yes, yes, and that's why. And I have spent 4 years in this community, and when I went to the club XY, I just had no idea that I just went cool XY, like that is the name. There is no reference to be known from that.
It
So
means
last night
nothing.
I was like, oh, right.
Well, so how did that come up over dinner?
Well, the school year just started, and he's a teacher, so he has a kid who has autism in the class, and so he was talking about how like chromosomes and this and that and this, and I honestly didn't understand any of it. But then he was talking about how well men have this and women have this, and I was like, right, right, they do, yes, yes, sure, whatever you say.
Okay. Well, okay. So the nightclub XY. When did you first go there?
I went there for the first time. I was watching a late night show called The Sequel, hosted by Alma Bitches. Um, I think it started at 1 a.m. if I remember right, and it was my first night out watching drag shows, and there was a big huge tradition that you would go to XY to watch Legends. You would go across the street to watch Sanctuary, and then you'd go back to XY and watch Sequel. And so it was the same bar owner and manager at the time, Jen Mickey, bless her soul. And so she owned 1181 and she owned XY. And so everyone would it was like a lounge versus this little small, or I guess it was like a cabaret lounge versus a cocktail lounge. So you go from this like huge stage with like curtains and like seats and booths and whatever to across the street to this like little kind of, not dingy at all, but just kind of narrow,
Pokey.
longer, kind of bar with seats on the side and this like kind of like stage that's literally just a piece of wood. And just like this, like people would just perform through like in between you, and it was super. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what night it was, but I remember walking in and going like, "Wow, this is way more." Put together and fancy than I thought. Like the interior of that club was and is still probably phenomenal. Like it's beautiful. It's very old timey, old style. It's gorgeous.
Wait, so right now we're talking about XY.
Yes.
Okay. Which is the bigger
Sorry.
cabaret venue, yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And so where were you at then on your journey with drag? If that was the first drag show that you saw, were you still in this kind of like, oh, don't really know about this?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
okay.
Beginning. I don't even know if I had performed yet at that time. It may have been before I did a number ever.
Ah, but like, was it before you were crushing on Adore Delano or?
No. So that was all in my bedroom watching Drag Race, catching up before I even put down. Like I watched all the seasons before I started doing it in my face. Or like practicing.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So the timeline is like I was homophobic. Then I slept with a guy then I stepped with the guy who told me that not watching Drag Race is homophobic. And I was like, no, you're wrong. I'll show you. Then I started watching it and loving it. And then I decided I wanted to do drag. And then I decided that if I was going to do drag, I should learn my herstory. And so I watched all the seasons. And then I started doing it.
So that was your only reference point was Drag Race.
It was, and honestly kind of problematic at the time, but I also put myself really into the local scene. So I think it was like I threw myself in there. I like had a whole group of friends that are honestly I'm not close with anymore. Before I started doing drag, mostly because like I just put it into like when I saw that first episode of queens lip syncing against each other, I was like, I have been lip sync. I was like, is this what drag queens do for a living? Because I had no idea. And they do, and I found out they do.
I've been practicing for this all my life.
I literally was like, I have been practicing for this my entire life. Like, I cannot believe I have not heard about this before. Because my only idea of a drag queen is like Robin Williams in the Birdcage. Like, it's like this old
Fusty,
yeah, and so when I saw RuPaul's Drag Race with these young, fashionable queens, I was like, "What?" Like with like out of drag that looked like me, talk like me. Like I was totally in shock and shooketh. And I was like, I have to do this. Like I'm born to do this. And so when I started going out to the local scene and going to XY, I think something that people like took a liking to me early on that they still kind of see now is that I just have this love for drag and for the art form. So sitting there at the cabaret or sitting there wherever, watching drag shows, I will just always have a smile on my face and like we'll just be watching drag and like I just love watching someone love what they're doing. Aww. And like if you're doing drag right, you're loving what you're doing.
Yeah. Just like as a quick side note, do you think that like in 10 years' time, every single person is going to be a drag queen?
No.
It's just like, it's just incredible how that TV show has inspired so many people to try it who just may never ever have tried it.
This is true.
So maybe not everyone. Maybe like every second person.
Yeah, I think a lot of people want to do drag, and I don't think everyone should. But I do think, and I know that sounds shady, but I do think that drag is for everyone. It's just a question of whether or not you want to make it a business. It's very similar. I think of it very similar to YouTube, where it's like, you know, it can start off as a hobby, as an art form, as a expression. And then it's kind of like comes to this moment where you're like, okay, am I going to make this my business? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I had that kind of shift as well around, like, I think a year and a half in where I was starting to hustle. But then it was like a year after I started doing Club Kid stuff where I was like, or not even a year, but a year after that. So like 2 years in, I was just like, you know what, I need to start making real money from this. And of course you have to pay your dues as well. And so that's like a thing that I really wanted to take with me because I don't know, I guess I'm just that type of person that really doesn't want to make a bad first impression. So of course, before I go to all these drag shows, I watch all these videos of like what to do at your first drag show, like what to do as a first drag queen, like what to do, blah, 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 like how to not insult the queens, how to not do this, how to not do. So like, it's like me being very careful and like dropping off my bag and changing the bathroom instead of the back room. Cause like, I don't want to upset the queens. And so I just like really tried to like, pay my dues and come to all that. Like I went to all the drag shows for like at least like a good 6 months. I went to like almost every single one, supporting the queens. And like I would wait like the first month or so they would see my face before asking to be a part of it. And then, you know what I mean? Like, and then I did a competition, then I did another competition, and then I did a third one, which I won. So that was how we're ending it. Yeah, so I think like when I was in XY, trying to get back to XY, I think like when I came to XY for the first time, I was really on edge because I wanted to make a good first impression, and then it was kind of just the vibe of the bar that you just feel good, you feel at home, like you feel it felt comfortable, it felt like when the host was saying something on the stage and everyone was screaming and laughing and then the people in the corner were making out and then people over there were like painting each other's nails in the booth while having like tequila. You know what I mean? Like it was just one of those moments where like it seemed like this was a bar that people went to every single night and created a community there. And that was something I'd never experienced. Like I was saying before, like I had this whole other group of friends that weren't that weren't a part of drag at all. And then when I threw myself into here, it was just like all or nothing to me. Like I really wanted to make a good first impression. I wanted to go all these shows. I wanted to like hustle, hustle, hustle. And yeah.
So, I don't know how to ask this without.
Just do it. I
Yeah.
have tough skin.
So, like, you just kind of immersed yourself in the scene. Did you just abandon things from before?
Yeah, so I worked at a summer camp and grew up at a summer camp that was very into like social justice. What?
Sorry, I just got excited about summer camp. Sorry. Go, carry on.
Oh no, 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 it's all good. And it actually there's a branch of it. It's an international like movement that has summer camps in different places. They actually have one in the UK as well. When I went on a program traveling, I met the UK age group of me, whatever. And so it's called Haverim Drawer. It's like this Jewish socialist whatever thing, movement to like strike change, whatever. I don't know. So I grew up going there. My parents met there. I worked there at the summer camp as a adult. I was the junior counselor for fuck's sake for like the second last year, and then I started doing drag a lot and like trying to put that in, and it wasn't necessarily like they weren't interested in that, but they had a lot of things on their plate that they wanted to get done with the world, and drag was not really on that. And so I kind of had to just realize that like these are friends of mine that were really close by association and by convenience and by time and growing up with them. But at the end of the day, if we think about and we like look down at the base of what who I am as a person and who they are as a person, who majority of them are straight and like privileged and go to university and whatever. I was like, you know what, that's not me. And so I, for a long time, invited them to these shows and asked them to come out with me, and because I was nervous about going alone and whatever. And it was repeated offenses of no, no, I can't, no, no, no. Then I finally just realized like I need to make new friends, and I need them to be involved in my life. And it's really not like I have a bad
Oh
taste in
yeah,
my mouth
no,
with them. You know
yeah,
what I
no, no, no,
mean?
absolutely. It's just that weird thing, isn't it? Like of I guess like looking back, you're like, of course they wouldn't come with me. Like, why would they? But when that is your whole world, there's this kind of
Hmm.
naive sense that they want to expand into areas that you want to expand into, and that's just not true. But
Hmm.
it's heartbreaking, isn't it? Just to like
It is.
recognize you're
And
the odd one out and have to strike out.
yeah. And I'm a pretty direct person, so it definitely didn't go down
You
silently.
are?
I'm a pretty, yeah, yeah, shocking. Um, so it was a few months of blah, 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 blah. And they'd be like, blah, 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 blah. And I'd be like, you need to support me. And whatever, messy. But let's get back on it. Sorry, I
So,
ramble a
okay,
lot.
yeah, and I'm just getting a bit of a sense here that you have a temper.
Okay, I don't have a temper. I, I'm aggressive. So I think that like when I want to, like if you had
Forthright?
like, yes, Like, I think, like, if you had done something that upsets me, I'd be like, before getting really upset, because, like, that's the thing, too, is that some people will just take me as aggressively being like, hey, just so you know, that upset me. Can we please not do that again? Like I take this really personally, blah, blah, blah. Some people would take that and think that I'm getting mad. Meanwhile, I'm like, you have no idea what me mad looks like, honey. Like this is me asking politely and letting you know that that bothers me and don't do it again. And then if you do it again, then I'll get angry and have a temper. But I just feel like I treat people well at the end of the day. Even if you don't give me anything, if you don't have anything for me, like I do like to like climb the ladder of whatever, but just literally to be able to get bookings. Like, it's not to step on over people. If I can hold my friends' hands while I climb that stupid superficial ladder, I would gladly do that. Like, put on my throw them on my back. I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to step on people, but I do think there is a way to get bookings, and that is it is just to suck up to people sometimes, and so that is like a reality. But there are people that just can't handle the direct truth, and so I don't necessarily vibe with those people that well. But, you know, we just have to make it work. And sometimes so anyways, no temper, but aggressive.
Okay. All right. Said in jest, by the way. So going to XY, you weren't going with your friends. Were you going like on your own, or had you made friends by that stage?
I would have figured out who from that show I would have known. And so I would have known that when I was going there, I would have had someone like to hang out with. And so it was a mixture of some nights that I went there, did the number, and then said thank you and then left. Because at that time I wasn't getting paid even. So it was just like a spotlight getting my name out there. And a mixture of that versus like, you know, I like ran into this guy that I knew from Tinder years ago. And so he's like, oh, you do drag now? And I go, yeah. And he's like, hang out with us. And I say, okay. And so like kind of just building that kind of familiarity within the scene as well.
And so, okay, so your first time performing there, tell me about it.
Oh my God, I was so nervous. I don't remember what song. Oh, you know what I do? I did "Want You Back" by Cher Lloyd. The one that's like, yeah. Do I sound like a helicopter? Anyways, I done a show across town, and like I said before, Sequel happened on like 1 a.m. on the Sunday, and so it was like kind of a late night. Maybe it was 2 a.m. It definitely got moved to 2 a.m. I think at this time it was 1 a.m. It was supposed to be like a late night drop-in show, and so
wait, what does a late night drop-in show mean?
Like no one's paid for it.
Oh, okay.
So there's like
an open mic type thing, like.
Oh yes, you know what? That's a better way to put it. Like an open mic drag night, whatever.
Yeah.
And so it'd be like just like 20 performers, I would say. Maybe 10 of them are relatively new, just getting exposure, and then the other 10 are like
good.
Or like 2 of them have been booked for the same night, and then like 8 of them were booked for something else, or wanted to do a song, or wanted to do something else, and were established. And in your words, good. And so I think like, okay, so sorry. So I did a show across town, and I was in this. Oh my God, it was so. I hate this look. Was so bad.
Describe it to me.
It was a lot. You know what? I probably archived it. I could probably show you. But it's like this. I remember I put my blonde wig behind my ears for the first time, which I was like obsessed with, and I put a little ponytail. And then I had this like giant white flower, just in the center, like of where my hairline would be, but like on my forehead still,
like with a center part.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but like
okay.
right where the lace is,
Uh-huh.
um, which ended up fucking up the lace, which was so annoying. And then I had this like bodysuit on that was white and skin tight and glittery, and French cut. And then I had white fishnets on, and then these white heels that are actually a size too small for me. So I was in a lot of pain. Because I've realized that my feet are 13 and a half in women's, which means that when I get 13, they hurt a lot. But when I get 14, I have to wear extra socks. um, so it's a lose-lose. But yeah, I remember because there's curtains, and I told all my bitches, who is actually one of my really good friends now and a huge inspiration to me in drag in the city. Um, she was super established, super well known at the time, just like she is now. But I was not. And I remember she was like, it's just like, she was like, it's Rogue, right? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, anything you want me to say? Like, and I was like, well, it's my first time performing at XY. And she's like, that's exciting. Like, just like, it's 1 a.m. Doesn't care. Like, not looking at me. And she's like, that's cool. And I was like, do you mind if you say my Instagram handle with it? And she like looks at me from her clipboard, and she like kind of snorts. And she's like, okay, like, what's the Instagram? And I was like, it's just Rogue. And she was like this. And she wrote it down. And I was like, yep. And she was like, perfect, cool, yeah, I can do that. And so she gave this intro, and the curtains were closed, and I stood behind the curtains, and they opened, and it was just, I literally don't remember anything from it, other than the one video clip that I have, which is me going, and yeah, but little fun fact is that within a year, everyone was saying their Instagram handles before being introduced on this stage. So I take full credit from that, because there was no other fucking Instagram queen in Vancouver at the time. They may have had Instagrams, but I was the first one that was like, obnoxious, follow me on Instagram. It's just Rogue.
Great. Something to be proud of, the being obnoxious, yeah.
Well, I think, yeah, it's part of it. It's part of the brand. Is like, Rogue is this annoying Instagram person. Like, that's my character. You know what I mean? And so like, because that was a part of me before I did drag. I would have this curated boy whatever Instagram, and it was just so. Once I started doing drag, I was like, oh, there's no point for me to do this anymore, because like, that part of my personality I just put into drag, which is great because it's a business too. So it's like, not only am I like getting engagement and getting new followers, whatever, but it's like, I'm also getting new gigs, and I'm getting these like cool, fun bookings and whatever. And I think like, if you're going to be annoying about anything, it's good to be annoying about your business.
Yeah, that's true. And so what is it about performing that you love?
I love interacting with the audience. I love engaging. I love lip syncing too. I think it's a really interesting form of art and expression, because you're telling a story, and you're like in your own way. Like, of course you can do a ballad and just stand there, but the way that people do ballads even are so wildly different, and the way that people can relate to this like, top 40 pop song that is all everywhere right now, but like, you see 20 queens perform it, and like, they all do it differently. You know what I mean? And I think that's so interesting, and I think that's what I love about performing. And XY, honestly, going back to that, is made it like performing so amazing, because not only could you walk through the audience, but there was a whole other high rise where the booths were, that you could walk through the audience and go to, and there was a little separate stage, and there were steps, and there were curtains. It's like it was literally just the most perfect little drag venue. Well, it was a cabaret. Like,
Yeah,
it was I guess it was a cabaret style, whatever. So that's what it was for.
so perfect for showing off, really.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And so this was your first performance. You got your feet wet. Got your feet wet? Is that the phrase? Got your
Also, to clarify,
cut
it
your
was my
teeth?
first. What?
Cut your teeth. Yeah, anyway. You
Cut your
performed.
teeth. No, I definitely think it's the feet one. Um,
I think you can use both.
maybe in the UK.
Oh, I can just say anything and say, yeah, it's British.
Yeah.
But, and then, so how did you build from there? Is the scene that you do a few free gigs, then you get a booked gig, or how do you make your way up?
Um, I mean, there's different people who get booked for different things. So, like, if there's someone who came on the scene and was super talented from the beginning, with like this cool new trick, then I think people would be reaching out to get them booked. Whereas for me, I was a pretty classic. Like, I think if I was doing what I'm doing now back then, I would be getting reached out to be booked, but because I was different and cool and new and exciting. But back then I was not. I really wasn't. So I was just this twink, I was like this attractive boy twink who did drag. It's an attractive girl that, like, was
Mm,
blonde and wore like pantsuits from Topshop, and like it just wasn't breaking the mold.
mm,
And so people weren't breaking their backs to try and book me. And
mm.
so what I had to do was pay my dues, like I mentioned before, and kind of reach out to these people, it's drag queens. It is drag queens that do the bookings in Vancouver. So majority of them. So you have to like really make friends with them and like figure out who does the weeklies, figure out who does the monthlies, figure out who likes
Wait,
you, who doesn't,
so wait, what's the weeklies and what's the monthlies?
like weekly shows and monthly
Oh,
shows.
okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
I don't
No,
know
it's
why
all
that
good.
was hard for me. Yes, okay, good.
And so it was like from there it was that wasn't necessarily a big deal for me getting booked necessarily, but it was a big deal for me to be booked by Alma
Hmm.
and to be performing on that stage, because for me, um, I love being really comfortable with a stage. Like I performed at another bar at a weekly show since January, and getting to know that stage and I already knew that stage from working and doing shows there for like 4 years, but from doing it every single week, you get to really know like the tips and tricks of like the curves and swerves of that stage. And it seems like you don't think of that. But then when you have a wig on and a corset and nails and pounds of makeup and heels on, and there's an audience and you have to lip sync and remember the words and you have to dance and there's people looking at you and there's lights on your face. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Everything is really blurry, and you have to you have to know that stage for it
yeah,
to look
yeah.
like you are just sailing along.
In control. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to get some advice from you about sucking up.
Okay.
What's your approach?
Um, I just like to be really real. So, like I said before, so I'm not going to say anything that I don't mean. So, if someone looks good, I'll be like, "Oh my God, you look great." If someone looks bad, just like you say, "It's good to see you." um,
You're looking
like I think,
alive. Yeah.
yeah, like I think a lot, and that's I think it took a little bit for people to get to know me in the scene, because I am a little bit reserved, and I am.
Wait,
Um,
you're reserved.
okay, in social interactions, um, when I don't have friends, yes.
Okay. Okay. No, 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 I get that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, you don't apologize. I don't care.
No, I'm just like, I'm aware how obnoxious I'm coming across in this call. Like, hang on a minute. You've got a temper. Hang on a minute. Yeah. Anyway, so carry on.
I think it's just like sorry, what was the question? I totally forgot.
Sucking up. How do you suck up?
Right.
So
I
you're a
think
little
it's
more reserved at first.
a little bit more reserved, and so I think people thought that I was this hidden bitch. Like I think people really thought that I was
Oh,
talking a lot of shit behind people's backs because I was nice to their faces. And so for a long time, people like didn't really know what to do with me. And then until I did my first competition, people were like, "Oh, you're just kind of awkward in person. like you're not actually rude. You're just like kind of awkward, and you're just actually nice, but you don't want to like overdo it to seem fake. So that's why you're not like triple saying things. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I
mm-mm.
think it was that's how I think you suck up successfully.
Yeah.
Succeed. Yeah, that sounded weird in my head. And because I've seen them come and go, mama, of them fucking sucking up and then people not liking them because they're too much of a suck up and then they don't get booked and they leave and they pull a tantrum and whatever. There has been a dime a dozen of those queens that come in.
I've run them
leave.
out of town. But
no, it's not even me. It's like other people because I don't. If someone's like fake to me, I'll just smile and not engage. Like I just won't like. There's no point there for me. Like if you're gonna not be real with me, then I'll just smile and say thank you. You know what I mean? Like I don't have time for that.
See, I think the problem that I have is that like if I don't like someone, it's really obvious from like just from the very first second, the get-go. And so I really struggle with that sucking up thing of being like, oh hey, it's really nice to see you, when I'm just like, fuck off, I really don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, I can do the smile where like I'll look at someone and go, yeah, and because they're like, it's nice to see you, and I'll go, but I stand by it, and I'll say it again. I say no lies. Like I do not lie. I will white lie if it makes you feel better, but like if I have a problem with you, and it's funny because people will say, like, I could tell you were mad at this person, and in my head, I'm always like, yeah, because I wanted you to. Like it's not like when I don't want you to know that I'm mad at someone, you don't know. That's why you don't know. Like, yes, you're right. You know when I'm mad at someone, when I want you to know that I'm mad at someone. And it's usually when I'm drunk. Like, I really try not to make big scenes about anything. But, if someone's bothering me and someone's getting in my face or whatever, and I've had a couple of drinks, then you know what I'm going to tell them.
That's on them, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No temper, though. No temper.
No temper. No, I've been told. I know. With thinking about the wider Vancouver scene, what did XY bring that other clubs didn't?
So I mentioned before the owner, Jen Mickey, owned XY and the bar across the street, 1181, which is now 1181 has reopened by other management, which is super great and fun. But we will go back to the Jen Mickey time. So Jen was just like this ball of fun and smiles. She had like this bangs, brown hair that like, she was like a Karen before Karens were this horrible thing, if that makes sense. Like she, like the kind of like talk to the manager haircut, but in bang form, if that makes sense. Like it was, I don't know. But it was just like, she just was like the mother of everyone. And she like really took care of her queens. She really, she just paid well. She would always try to work with the queens versus being like, well, that's the shit on the stick and that's what you got to work with, which is what other bars would do. Every single night there was a drag show there. If maybe not every single night. Let me see. There's one Monday. I guess they hopped around a lot. Sometimes they were, sometimes there wasn't. But majority, there was almost every single night there was a drag show. And an earlier event happening. So like there'd be gay improv on Thursdays, and then Thursday night there'd be some drag show. You know what I mean?
Did you just say gay improv?
Yeah.
Is that just improv?
Well, it's this is all in the Village, right? So it's I guess it's yes, it's just improv, but it's sold as gay improv. Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to I didn't want to get my membership revoked for not knowing what gay improv was.
Well, I guess maybe it is like a thing where it's all queer people. I don't know. I never went. No, so she tried to make the most money that she could, and honestly, I think the rent at those two places were so much, and she took such good care of those queens, giving us free drinks and paying us so well that she just really didn't make enough money there. So it was open for 2 years, and when it closed, it was. I remember actually the last night. We were at 1181. There had been a show at XY. We went an extra hour, and then we went to 1181, which was already supposed to be closed. I mean, then we stayed there. We locked the doors, and it was like a huge group of us. until like I think 5 a.m., maybe 6 a.m., just like drinking, shooting the shit, because it was like she was closing both of them because she just couldn't afford it anymore. And so it was really sad for the drag queens and for the drag performers, of course, and it was sad for her. Like she was always out. She was always out having fun. She was always out with us. Her boyfriend was a sweetheart, just like this huge lovable teddy bear, who I actually became friends with first, not even knowing that was her boyfriend, and then just became friends with her out of connection, which was perfect because I was like, wow, this is great. The owner of the bar. And that's how I got my first like kind of show, which was called Yikes. Oh no, it was called Beauty and the Beast, and then we changed it to Yikes. And yeah, it was really, it was, like I said before, it was just a community. Like, I think the people that went there knew what to expect. It was, the bartenders there were all just, they loved being there for drag. Like you go to some of these other gay bars and there are these bartenders and, what do they call it? Bouncers and like the staff that just don't enjoy being there. Like they're not queer, or they don't get drag, or they don't like drag and they're queer, whatever it is. And XY and Liberty One were places that were filled with staff that loved being in that community. Whether it was a queer woman, a straight woman, a trans man, a queer guy, a gay guy, whatever it was. Like they all just they loved it. They were all beautiful and fit. That'd be the one restriction I would say that they stuck to.
Well, in terms of hiring people.
In terms of hiring people, yeah, there was not anyone that didn't have a six pack or a hard set of abs. But they were all just really happy to be there, which is I can't say that for the other bars.
And so do you know what happened to Jen? What she's doing now?
So Jen comes from a pretty, I think she comes from like a businessy entrepreneurial background. So I think this was like one of her many projects. And I think this was just one that kind of hit close to home that lasted for, well, I think it was supposed to be like a year, because the XY is in a location where there have been clubs that have tried to open there over and over again, and it just doesn't really necessarily work out for a long time or at all. So I think this was just her next venture, and I think it happened longer, and she had more of an emotional connection to it than she thought and expected. And I think it was really hard. I know it was really hard for her to let go. Yeah, so it was sad, but I also at the same time haven't seen her since. So I don't know what she's up to. But I assume she's, doing businesswoman stuff.
Doing businesswoman stuff, yeah. And so what did Vancouver lose when it lost this bar?
Oh, it lost a lot. We used to say there was a show every single night in Vancouver. Now you just can't say that. Because with all the bars and whatever, there would have been just out every single night at some point, because XY would have so many one-offs and weeklies and monthlies and whatever. But when XY and Letter One, because it was both of them at the same time, and they both closed, it was like, okay, now we're down to 2 shows a week. And that was just like...
Well, like 2 shows in the whole of Vancouver?
Yeah, for a week. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
With like maybe 2 monthlies.
Yeah.
But like that, and of course one-offs are like there are these shows that like, it's like me and a friend, we're doing this thing at this huge venue, come by. Obviously those still existed. And those kind of events also happened at other things too. So people really got creative. But that's how much it was really, like, that's how much she did. Was she created opportunities for all these queer people. And And honestly, she didn't give a fuck what you did. Like, if you were a bearded queen, a comedy queen, a pretty queen, a fashion queen, whatever it is, like a club, like just do it well, and not even well, be successful. Like, bring people into the bar, and you're good.
So, doesn't matter if you're a shit performer, if you bring people who are buying drinks.
Yeah, if the bar is making money, then yeah. And so she would stay and watch the show too, like she was an angel. She was an angel.
And so then what does that mean then for your, not the current situation withstanding, like what does it mean for your gigging life?
Well, it was just a lot less to choose from. And actually what ended up happening from that was that there was this huge push in moving away from the village. So moving away from Davie Street in Vancouver and trying to explore different avenues and venues all over the city. So East Side Studios and the Clubhouse really popped off, which are just venues that aren't in the village. And it's more alternative drag. And so all the people that would come to XY for that community aspect really, honestly, I think, shifted over to those venues because it was this aspect of community and queerness that the other venues and bars on Davie and that bar that reopened didn't really have. Mm-hmm. Like it's very clear to, or let me put it this way. It was very clear to us with Jen that she didn't, at the end of the day, give a shit about the money. She gave a shit about us. And that is the only person, I would say, that owns or manages whatever on Davie, like in the village, that would think that way.
That makes a difference to the space, doesn't it?
Makes a difference to the space, makes a difference to the employees and the queens working, which then makes a change or affects the customers. Like if I'm feeling stressed about something because of the owner being stressed about something, then I'm going to treat the bartenders probably not that well.
Yeah.
And then the bartenders aren't going to treat the customers well, and the customers are going to be mad, so they'll be watching me, and then I'll be annoyed because they're mad watching me, and then I'll be annoyed with my performance, and then I won't go back. You know what I mean? Like, it's obviously not that extreme every single time, but it is really, it's this cycle. So when Jen was just like so sweet, was like, what can I get for you? Like, are you happy here? Like, do you want anything? Like, do you want like the fan on? Like, we can open this room for you. Do you want this? Do you want that? Like, just totally make like, what time do you want to start? Like anything we wanted, making sure we were all good in the hood. And she, it was just like so many shows there went so smoothly and perfectly and happily. And yeah, it was all because of her, I would say. Obviously, there's credit to us, duh. But like, I would say if we're going to look at like who pulls the strings, she did an amazing job at pulling those strings.
Aww.
Yeah. It's like a love letter to her.
Did you ever go to XY? Well, if you did, please tell me all about it. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook under the username KAndersonMusic. Send me photos, tell me what you got up to there, and share any gossip. You can also find out more about Rogue by following them on Instagram. Their user handle is It's Just Rogue. Lost Spaces is not only a podcast, but a concept record as well. I've been writing songs about queer venues and the people who used to live their lives there, and will be releasing songs over the coming year. You can hear the first single, Well Groomed Boys, which is also playing underneath my talking right now on all streaming platforms. If you like this episode, I would really appreciate if you subscribed, left a review on Apple Podcasts, or just told people who you think might also be interested in giving it a listen. I am Kay Anderson, and you have been listening to Lost Spaces.